Hi, welcome back to the garden. Today is Saturday, November 19th, and you know what that means. We're going to do a quick review of this garden, then we're going to go to you and celebrate what's going on in your garden. Snow's mostly melted, still a little bit on the ground, but it's getting warm enough that we're going to go ahead and open up these cold frames, see how they did. If you're new to my story, you're in for a real treat. Saturdays are reserved for you and celebrating what's going on in your garden. I started this because I didn't want to weed, and I found a way that I thought folks might be interested in, and it's turned into an almost daily story. This is what deep mulch will do for your garden. Doesn't look like much now, but if you've been following my story, you know what the harvest looked like. Oh, this big one's got some red on it. That one's starting to turn. That is beautiful. To be successful with great big tomatoes like these, doesn't hurt to take them as soon as they start blushing. The thickness of the ice will really show you how much it froze. That froze pretty hard. Well, that's a little thicker than a pane of glass. The only reason I say that is my great-grandparents came to Oklahoma because they saw a flyer that said the water never froze thicker than a pane of glass in the winter. Well, when they got here, they found out that wasn't exactly true, but it was much more pleasant than what they'd been used to. So they decided to stay. And I found where I'm at in zone 7/A, B, depending on what map you look at, it's not so bad in the winter. Yeah, it gets pretty cold, but then it warms right back up. Let's go ahead and get these cold frames opened up before this stuff starts cooking. Now, I did want to show you this real quick. Where the groundhog ate all of this down to the ground, the cabbages are starting to come back a little bit. So we'll see what we get there. Well, I go start getting some leaves. Let's look at what Walter has to say about the deep mulch. Walter's doing a little cleanup, getting ready to put down some more mulch, when he noticed all the helpers coming to see him. Look what else he found. Sometimes you get lucky with a volunteer potato. Now, Walter, you're tempting us with those hot peppers and that beautiful salad. This is wonderful, Walter. We can't wait till next year. Thank you. Walter, that was a great illustration of how fast the mulch disappears. And look at all those workers doing their job, making your harvest just that much better. And those hot peppers, wow. That's why we do it, because it tastes great. Well, while I finish raking up this pile, let's go ahead and take a look at Nathan. Nathan's winter garden is looking great. All the cool weather crops you want. And that mini greenhouse, that's spectacular. Thank you, Nathan. Nathan, that was fantastic. Thank you. And if you'd like to be part of an upcoming celebration episode, all you have to do is email me at waylandsmalley5@gmail.com. The address is in the description box below. Even if you're only getting your garden ready for spring and you don't think you're doing much, it does encourage people to show everybody exactly what they need to do to have a bountiful harvest next year. Come here and take a look at this ground. See, even right here where we've had piles of wood chips, right here we're down to bare soil. Anywhere you got bare soil, just cover it up. I'm pretty happy. Over the last week I've had several discussions about deep mulch. And the main overarching theme is they can't believe just exactly how easy it is. They think I'm doing some kind of trick. And when I say I put it this deep and then it disappears, Walter is a prime example. I mean, you see his right down the soil. What we just covered up here was right down the soil. And I pile it in deep. The ultimate goal is 4 or 5 inches thick when you get ready to plant in the spring. But to get there, you got to put it on pretty heavy. And when the worms get to working, they really take it down fast. And then you just keep adding throughout the year. And you just keep adding year after year. I did get asked how soft that soil is underneath there. Why deep mulch gardening? I'll show you why. Right here. Pull that mulch back. And to answer my friend's question, how soft is that soil? This was orange clay 5 years ago. You just stick my hand straight down in there. That's not orange clay anymore. I don't know if you can see the white in here. That's not frost. That's not frost. That's mycorrhizal fungi. That's what's building the structure to allow the roots to go deep. When's the best time to start a deep mulch garden? Oh, that'd been 7 years ago. When's the next best time to start one? That'd be today. Instead of sending your leaves off to the landfill, spread them out on your garden. Think you'll be amazed at what you get next spring. Another question I keep getting is, what do you put on there? It's any organics you can get your hands on. If I had all wood chips, that's what I'd put down. If I had all leaves, that's what I'd put down. If I had all hay, that's what I'd put down. This year we were dry enough, we didn't mow once. So I didn't have any green grass to put down, which was okay with me as far as mowing. Now what I'm doing here is, as it's getting colder, we want to make sure we got plenty of mulch in around what we want to keep alive. We're going to continue to cover these, but the more mulch we can have around here, the warmer that ground's going to stay, the better off it's going to be for these plants. We just want to make sure we've got a decent layer right around the plants that we're protecting. Help keep that ground nice and warm. Works as an insulating blanket. It doesn't hurt to mulch right up around those plants. Starting a deep mulch garden is just about like starting anything else. You can read about it, and I can tell you about it, but unless you get up and start doing it, you really don't know exactly how it works. So I encourage you to go out, get some organic matter, and just spread in the area where you're going to garden. You'll be amazed at what it does for your plants. And while I go get another load of leaves, let's take a look at Texas. They actually had a couple freezes this early. Valerie filled up her table with the tomatoes and everything else she had to harvest because of the freeze. Now those green tomatoes started turning pretty quick. And you cut back your lotus for the winter and it started up again. That squash looks wonderful. Valerie, your container garden has inspired so many to garden. We are really glad that you're a friend of this channel. Thank you. Valerie, that was amazing. Out of your container garden, we can't wait to see what you have in store for us over the winter. Thank you very much. When they asked Ruth Stout how much, she said more. And this is what more looks like. And then what do? We add some more. At a point of reference with those hay bales, you'll be surprised at how fast this breaks down. To continue with the questions I was getting about the deep mulch, a major question I got was about seeds, about herbicides, and how I know. Well, check this out. One thing I do is when I get bales, I leave them off the garden for a little while, let rain get on them. And here in the cold frame, the wheat seeds from this straw is germinated already. Now I don't mind that. This will be easy enough to pull out and that'll all become part of the mulch. But that right there tells me there's no herbicides on this. I mean, you can ask the people, but you got to trust them. Now as for the hay, if you're getting square bales, leave them off the garden, put a little water on them. If something starts to grow, you're pretty much safe. Now the way I look for hay bales is price and how they're baled. If they're baled with string and they're under what's going in the market, chances are whoever baled that didn't spend any money on putting herbicide down on the field. That's a good rule of thumb. I'm not going to say it's always right, but I've been pretty lucky doing it that way. Or get with a neighbor who you trust not to be putting herbicide down on their field. And one way you can tell that is just by looking at it. If it's full of weeds, if it's full of wildflowers and other things, you're pretty safe that it's not been sprayed. So now you got clean hay and straw. Now you're going to have some seeds, and they will filter down to the ground. As long as you keep that ground covered, they're probably not going to germinate. And if some do germinate in the mulch, it's pretty easy to get rid of. You can kick them out with your toe. You only have to worry about them if they get really established in your soil. But the deep mulch pretty much precludes that. I'm not out here weeding for hours before I show you my story. I think it'll help you be a better gardener. It sure has helped me. Art cleaned up the last of his tomatoes. That looks very tasty, Art. We sure enjoyed your garden this year. Thanks for sharing. You look around at the size of this garden, how is he ever going to get that covered? Well, it's like eating an elephant, one bite at a time. Now, if I was 22 years old, I'd have this covered in about 30 minutes. But those years are long gone. Speaking of that, I've got a public service announcement for all the men out there. You know, when you ask your wife, what do you want for Christmas? And she says, oh, nothing, honey. Don't fall for it. I learned a long time ago. Ladies, I'm sure you know we're clueless. So you got to let us know. Please leave a comment down below and let us know what you'd like for Christmas. And I'll highlight those in next week's episode. And on the other hand, here's a service announcement for you ladies. When your husband or boyfriend says, ooh, I'd like to have that tool, don't shake your head and go, what do you need that for? He really means that's what he'd like. And trust me, if he sort of grunts at you, whatever hobby or tool or thing you're looking at, as long as you pick anything in that category, and actually the bigger, the gaudier, the weirder you think it is, the better we're going to like it. I don't know why. But that's a public service announcement for today. Leave a comment down below and tell me if I've lost my mind. And if you go through my Amazon link, you got lots to choose from. I do want to thank you for stopping by and helping celebrate what our friends and neighbors are doing in their garden. We would like to see pictures of what you're doing in your garden, whether it's just getting ready for the spring or whether you got stuff growing for the winter. All other gardeners love seeing what you're doing. That's where we get our motivation, that's where we get our inspiration. Until next time, remember, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and God bless you. Come on, let's plant.
Let's go plant garden.